How did the English Civil War shape American history? The English Civil War had a huge effect on American history. People tend to think only of the colonization of the Puritans. However, the English Civil War shaped America in many ways, laying foundations that would forever influence American civilization. Some of the results of the war were that it drove the migration patterns of early settlers, that it established a cultural divide between the North and South, and it led to many of the political views which prompted the Revolutionary War. The first point is that it drove the migration patterns of early settlers. King Henry VIII became king of the English Church, and under Queen Elizabeth the Church had Protestant theology with Catholic worship. Most Protestants and Catholics were not happy, and some Protestants wanted a reformation. Puritans had strict rules and values, and they wanted to reform the church. The Cavaliers were the royalty, part of the High Catholic Church, and they supported the king. The English Civil War broke out between the Puritans and the Cavaliers. It lasted from 1642 to 1651, and it ended with the death of King Charles I. In 1630, the Winthrop fleet left for Massachusetts, carrying 700 passengers, mostly Puritans fleeing from the war. The migration of many Puritans continued until 1640 when Parliament was reconvened. Colonel Norwood wrote about the defeat of the Cavaliers. This unparalleled butchery, the execution of Charles I, made the Cavaliers cast away the scabbard of their swords with both hands. The second point is that the English Civil War led to a cultural divide between the North and South. The Cavaliers, the aristocrats fled to Virginia after the king's execution, bringing their servants and serfs. Many serfs ran away and started their own farms, so the Cavaliers needed someone to work the land. The discovery of new blends of tobacco brought much wealth to the southern colonies. The Spaniards sold African slaves to the plantation owners. These slaves were originally captured by Arabs, who sold them to the Spanish, who sailed to the Caribbean and sold them to the Virginians. The southern colonies' economy was based on tobacco farming, while the New England Puritans had a trade-based economy. Puritans did not celebrate holidays or play sports, while the Cavaliers in the South had a very different culture. They loved parties and beauty. Alistair Cook states that three main cultures emerged from the English settlements: the planter society of the South, the more egalitarian settlements of New England, and the greatly varied middle colonies. The third point is that the English Civil War led to the American Revolution. In 1660, Puritans fell from power in England, and the Cavaliers were triumphant. Charles II became king. The English Puritans were not popular in England, but Charles was unwilling to reestablish the king's authority in America. Charles II failed to win back the loyalty of the southern colonies as well. This lack of authority in England led to America's independence. By the time there was a king again, there had been conflict in England for 20 years. Colonists who had lived in England felt that England was no longer home to them. To the New World, England was like a foreign land, and America was its own country with its own government. Alistair Cook says that the independence of the colony had been greatly helped by the lack of a strong central government in England before and during the Civil War. The English Civil War was a great benefactor in the shaping of modern America. It did this through driving the migration patterns of the settlers, establishing a cultural divide, and leading to the political views which prompted the Revolutionary War. Thank you.